Yeah.
And did you want to talk about the feelings about feeling bad about yourself in relation to this scale?
Yeah, feeling bad about yourself is a sin. Interesting. So the more you feel bad about yourself, so let's say you feel good about yourself here, the more you choose to stay feeling bad about yourself, can you see what's happening? The more you're going to sin. Right? And the reason, and you end up with more demands on people, you end up with wanting them to make you feel good, you end up with pushing them into trying to make you feel good, you engage things like sex and food and money and other things to find worth to make yourself feel good and so forth. And fundamentally it's because we don't believe already that we're the pinnacle of God's creation. So it's important, and this has been something very difficult for me to deal with in this life, has been to stop myself from the addiction of feeling bad about myself. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I've had to work my way through quite a lot of emotions to do that. A lot of it was driven by my fear of other people's attack. So I started seeing the relationship between me feeling bad about myself and the level of attack that other people want to. The more other people attack me, I had a tendency to then feel worse. Do you follow? Which means that they felt more encouraged to attack me. Can you see that? The worse I feel, if I'm the downside, I'm getting down on myself, down, down, down. This encourages the opposite, the people who are in the addiction of attacking others, to increase their attack. And I realised that I felt that if I made myself smaller, I thought that I would stop their attack. Can you see that? And there's this tendency of most of us to think that if we make ourselves smaller, we don't be our nature, we don't be our personality like we were talking about yesterday, we don't exercise our desires, we'll stop the attack because we're afraid of it. But what I found is when I felt my fear of other people's attack, I started having more worth towards myself, more feelings of positive towards myself, and I got attacked less. And I thought I was going to get attacked more. But I get attacked less. People often say to me, like, why aren't you in prison already? It's because I'm feeling better about myself. You follow? Yeah? I say a lot of things confronting to a lot of people. And very few people treat me badly now compared to what used to. Does that make sense? It used to be every single person I met. The worse I felt about myself, the more that was encouraged. The less I feel about myself. And I after a while I understood the dynamic because God's feelings about it, you start to understand. And I started to see, by me feeling bad about myself, the opposite of the truth, right, I encouraged them to feel they were superior. And in them feeling superior to me, they felt greater. And in feeling greater, they felt they had more justification to make me feel worse. That makes sense? So I started to see the relationship between attack, my history of attack, first century memories about what happened to me many, many times, had an impact on me greatly in terms of having to deal with, the level of myself, putting down myself in order to control the attack. It's been a problem for our soul. Mary has done the same thing as well, putting herself down all the time, trying to avoid attack. And she's going through the same process I've been through, just learning not to do that, And how much that encourages bad spirits and bad people to attack you is quite marked, yeah?
And it's important to understand the difference between just feeling the truth of your sin and feeling bad about yourself and holding on to that as a belief, a global belief about yourself. Yep. So, and sometimes people hold on to this idea, I'm just bad, to avoid the specifics of their sin. Yep. But sometimes it's exactly what Jesus is saying. A lot of times. That we just want to put ourselves down because we think everyone will get off our back then.
Yeah. And that usually comes from a childhood of that happening, where people were on your back and you learnt the lesson that if you put yourself down, before they attacked you, they generally didn't attack you as much, is thinking. But all they did was get more control over you,
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
because you put yourself down so much. Yeah.
You got more compliant with their will rather than discovering your own will and
Yeah.
exploring and experimenting with your own will. So remember that humility, a lot of humility is being willing to emotionally give up your own beliefs and ideas about yourself in favour of God's.
Yep.
So,
So
this part of the prayer is saying, I'm going to be humble to your opinion of who I am.
Rather than mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Many of you carrying around bad feelings about yourself, God wants you to give them up. You're going to have to grieve some things, and you're also going to have to feel some fear. So what I've found is there's a lot of fear that causes a person fear because in their childhood, the attack caused you to feel that if you put yourself down, you'll get rewarded for putting yourself down. And the reward is no more attack, right? And so you put yourself down enough like that, you start feeling, it becomes a part of your very psyche. It becomes a part of who you believe you are, a person with no power, no strength, no energy. And you start acting like that as well in your life. You don't make decisions, you don't make choices, you don't go for things, you don't, create a life for yourself. You don't do all of those things as a result as well. And all of that often comes from this feeling that in your childhood, whenever you were trying to do something for yourself or were trying to grow in any way that was out of harmony with your parents or your upbringing, everyone attacked you, right? And put you down. So in the end, you learn to put yourself down to avoid it. Right? It's a learned behaviour.
And then, as you're saying, as you're trying to experience more of God's feelings about you, often there's fears come up because you feel, this is going to ramp up the attack.
It's going to make it unsafe again. My life's going to be more unsafe than it is now. So you feel very resistive to doing it. And so I found myself very resistive to having any positive feelings about myself. Mm-hmm. It makes sense? Yeah. And the more harsh the treatment as a child, probably the more resistive you're going to be. So some of it's just verbal, like pulling you down here and undermining you there and stuff like that. So that's enough, and that's verbal abuse. But for many of you, you've experienced actual abuse, physical violence, sexual violence in your childhood and other things like that. It's going to be harder because you're going to feel like, if I be myself more, all those people who abuse me to get me into that position are going to start attacking me again. Right? Yeah. So there's a lot of fear in it. And I had to work through a lot of fear. I probably had a good solid 4 years of fear, actually, for a period of time before I met Mary, before I even had enough sense of worth to even think that I could even do things. It was before I even knew who I was. I went through a 7-year period of lots of fear, lots of terror, working through just even embracing my life, right? And when I met Mary, it ramped up again because Mary had a habit of attacking me when we first met. Because she wasn't
I wanted the
happy.
men to make my fear go away.
Yeah, so...
And I was very afraid all of the time because of the other attack that was coming towards us.
Yeah, what happened was Mary wanted me to accede to pander to people who were attacking us.
That's what I was doing, and I wanted
felt
Jesus
unsafe.
to do it. Yeah.
And so then I had to deal with, even Mary wants to hammer me, and I had to even deal with that as well, like feel about that and work my way through having some sense of inner strength where I can go, no, Mary, you're wrong, without, feeling like I have to bow to the pressure. Yeah. So it's taken a fair while, and I'm still working on actually this issue of self, how you view yourself. Yeah. Every single person I met feels that I'm not sufficient enough to be Jesus, without exception. Actually, many of you when we first met felt exactly that, right? Many of you come to a seminar and you think, is this guy Jesus? Like, I feel that. Every single person I meet is like that. And some of you have changed with that over the years, just from experience or time or whatever. Many don't. Many after interacting with us feel more definite about it afterwards than before we met, yeah? And so it's just a constant thing that having to work my way through with all this projection that I'm not worthy enough all the time. So it's been a big thing for me. And for any of you who have this problem, you're going to find it's going to take some hard work, sincere work on your behalf to let yourself start to believe what God's trying to tell you. The interesting thing, though, is the more you receive his love, the more you'll feel it anyway. Yeah?
Then the love will cause you to feel like, I can't treat myself badly anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm afraid. And then there's the work to do on the fear.
Yeah. When I was in my 20s, my whole life was governed about serving people to my own detriment. I did it to the point of exhaustion. Every single day. I would come home absolutely hammered, and I spent every day trying to help somebody, all day, every day trying to help somebody. And I used to come home absolutely like no energy at all in the end. Just no strength, energy left, and then I would do it the next day. Yeah, had no concept of love of self at all. And really it's God's love that's helped me regain, and our closeness to our own soul that's helped me regain that love of self. That makes sense? Yep. Yeah. So, these are just feelings. They're all ant-emotions. Things to feel. And they'll help, if you recognise them, you'll grow greatly from them. This is why the prayer is so important, right? Because everything you read, you go, oh, gee, I have that too, and oh no. And then many of us, when we talk about sin, you're thinking it's the bad things you do to others. But actually, a lot of our sin is the bad things we do to ourselves. You understand? And one of the bad things we do to ourselves is treat ourselves as if we're worthless. Yeah, many of us do that. What do you think a smoker's doing when they're smoking? Aren't they saying, I'm worthy of death? I'm worthy of all this bad air in my lungs. I'm not worthy of clean air. There's a lot of sadness in that. Yeah, a lot of feelings of poor worth in that. When you have some worth, you won't feel like smoking anymore. You just won't. Right? There's a lot of these kind of feelings that are involved in a lot of things we do on earth. A person who overeats, same. Why would you overeat? It just makes you fat and unhealthy and unhappy and prone to heart disease and early death. Why would you do it? You've got to have some level of bad treatment of self involved, don't you? To do it. Yeah. So it's a lot of times you'll find that the relationship with God helps expose to you how badly you feel about yourself. Yeah. And when you work through it, come out the other end. Like I compare myself now and I go, wow, I was in such a mess. In my 20s, man. Just I look back at my early 30s now before I started making any change. And I go, if I had continued on that course that I was on, I would definitely be dead by now. Definitely be dead by now. I was so embroiled in this bad treatment of self, and man, it's just without these changes, I would have died from either bowel cancer, heart disease. I would have died from many things, potentially many things.
There's a long list.
I was overworking for people to get my worth, bowel cancer. I was sad all the time and trying to overcome my sadness by feeling good about myself, by trying to be loving to others, heart disease. I was feeding myself badly. Just from that, I possibly would have died. I used to drink 20 Cokes or 40 Cokes a week.
One for every workout.
I would have died from... by the time I was 18, the doctor said I'm prone to pancreatic disease, right? Failure, right? So because of my addiction to sugar, just that one thing. I used to eat a 4-litre tub of ice cream in one sitting. I used to have 3 a week. Yeah? And by the way, it wasn't just ice cream, it was covered with
Caramel sauce or something.
caramel,
Yeah.
caramel syrup. And you know, the amount of things I used to do, like I was by the time I was 30, I was tubby, and getting fatter every year as well. Just, and my life, my personal life was a mess. I was not being honest with my partner. I was married at the time, wasn't being honest with her in the sense of saying, no, things are wrong here. She was doing a lot of things that I felt were wrong, but I wouldn't say anything about it. I'd just tolerate it. You know, I was embroiled in a religious faith that caused me to work and work and work and work and work, and I was thinking I was pleasing God doing that, you know, working so hard all the time. I didn't enjoy much of it. I was quite unhappy. I used to go behind our shed in the backyard and cry a lot. You know, I was pretty much a mess. I was 33. Yeah. So having a breakthrough emotionally helped me greatly, and then also having the breakthrough into, you know, wanting to have the relationship with God back helped me the most. Yeah. Make sense? Yeah. Time.
Yeah, it's time.
Yep. 2 minutes.